Hello everyone, how are you? It's Michael with the World of Michael Trent, and welcome to World Cardmaking Day 2025. I don't think I've ever done a video for World Cardmaking Day, so I'm a little excited for a couple of reasons. I have my notes here, so let me take my notes away. I was recently asked to be part of a design team for KCS Designs by Kim. Kim has a store on Etsy, and she sells digital junk journal papers, digital mixed media papers, ephemera, everything digital. She comes from the world of digital scrapbooking, so you can even find some overlays there and some scrapbooking elements that you would use with digital scrapbooking, which I personally don't do, but I have embraced and learned how wonderful it is to use digital papers and digital junk journal papers in my card making. And I know with everything going on in today's climate, with the tariffs and supply chain issues and everything else, getting into this hobby could be a little expensive. And today I want to show you how easy it is to make some fun cards using digital products. All you would need is to buy the digital product and you print it out on some cardstock. So you need a printer. And then other than that, you need maybe a paper cutter or a knife and a ruler, maybe some other supplies that are cheap and easily accessible in your house or maybe in a craft store. So you don't have to break the bank to make cards. And that's one of my missions today, is to show you how to make a really cool card without having the need for a rubber stamp or a die or a big shot machine or any of that. So I'm hoping to have 3 videos for World Cardmaking Day, which is Saturday, October 4th. I'm actually filming this a few days before. I'm hoping to get 3 videos done. This might go live on Friday because I'm using products from KCS Designs by Kim, and Kim is having a huge 50% off sale Friday through Sunday. Friday, October 3rd, 2025 through the 5th, 2025 in her Etsy store. Links to everything I'm talking about will be either below, or a link to a blog post will be below with everything listed out for you. So don't worry about any of that. Let me get to this card, and I want to explain a lot. I'm hoping this video doesn't go too long, but this is the card that I recently made, okay? This is using one of Kim's designs. This is the vintage mixed media, and it's clocks and gears and cogs and old keys. It's very masculine. Today's cards are more for a guy, like a Father's Day or maybe a masculine birthday, because I find that making cards for guys are sometimes a little difficult. But when you find the right paper collection, whether it's digital or physical, everything works out much easier. So this is the card I made. This one I did using craft cardstock as my base. This is basically the same card, but using black cardstock as my base. Okay, this is another card I made using the same idea, using, this is vintage numbers and a hello die, which you don't need to use. This is using the black and white mixed media journal papers and an old happy birthday stamp from Stampin' Up! Again, this is optional, but the same idea. And then this is using a piece of 6x6 scrapbook paper from a paper pad. So you're not limited to digital. You could use regular paper, but this I'll explain in a moment, okay? The idea for this card came from this. So there's a woman who's a Stampin' Up! Rep, and she has a Facebook page. It's called Kathy's Stamping World. And this ended up in my feed one day, and I was looking at it and I was thinking, oh my God, that's kind of cool, the way this sketch works out. And Kathy is part of this creative collab crew, and every week or month or something, they come out with a different collaboration to get people to join in. And I saw this and I was like, oh my God, I love puzzles. So this is kind of like a puzzle to me. So this is, you're using this sketch to basically make this card. And I love that all the sizes were there. So I changed it up a little bit. I'm using fun foam on this card. You can use foam dots, foam squares. The fun foam is optional. You could literally just glue them right to your card front like I did here. Okay, this is, so let's see. So this is using fun foam. You can see it's raised off the card front. I like that kind of 3D feel to it. This is just basic card front, glued right to the card front. So the fun foam is optional. The reason I love to use fun foam is it is so cheap here in Brazil. I buy huge sheets for less money than it would cost me to buy a roll of foam tape or any of that, which are all imported. Fun foam also comes in various sizes. This is your normal size fun foam, which I know you can pick up at like Michael's or an arts and crafts store. This is double the width. So this is a little bit, this is more like foam tape size. So I do like to use this a lot also. What else do I need to talk about? So let me first, before we get into the card, I want to first show you the digital. So when you print a digital image, you have many different options. I'm not going to go into this now. I'm going to be doing another video on digital printing, but you can print this image as almost like an 8x8, okay, on a sheet of cardstock. Here I chose to print 2 of the same image on one sheet of cardstock. Now this is A4. This is the European size. We don't have 8.5 by 11 here in Brazil, but I did have some in my stash. So this is 8.5 by 11, which gives you 2 images that are 5 3/8 by 5 3/8. So a little bit smaller than a 6 by 6 piece of paper. When you're using A4, which if you have 12 by 12 cardstock, you could just cut it to, this is basically 8 1/4 by, I think 11 3/4, but you could do 8 1/4 by 12 inches, and you will get 2 of the same image, but these are 5 3/4 of an inch by 5 3/4. So this is more like a 6 by 6 paper pad. So if you're making a 6 by 6 album or a 6 by 6 card, this would be your first layer. So that's why I love to work with 2 digitals at the same time. How your digitals print depends on your printer. It depends on the inks that you're using in your printer. I'll explain that in a second. And it depends on your cardstock or your paper. The better the paper that you're printing on, the more vibrant your images are going to be. So this is a white piece of cardstock that we have here. It's good. It's not the quality that we have in the United States, but I'm happy with this. Okay, this is the 8.5 by 11. This is a much better brand of cardstock, and you can see the quality is pretty much the same, but the color intensity is much darker on the better paper. Printing wise, these 2, this is my printer and this is Hui's printer. They're the same printer models. It's an Epson L3250, I believe. He uses the real Epson inks. It's an EcoTank printer, so he uses the Epson brand of inks. I use an off-brand because they're much cheaper and I'm not printing photographs with my printer. So you could see the difference in the ink saturation by using the original ink brand versus a cheaper knockoff brand. Okay, so just some things for you to think about. So when I print, I print not 2 pages, I'm printing a quantity of 2 of the images on one sheet, and then I can actually get 2 cards out of this if I want to do that. And this way I'm not wasting half, because if you print one, it's going to print in the center, and you're going to be left with all this excess paper that is just going to be scraps. So, let's get started. So here's the sketch from the Creative Collab crew. This will be linked below. I did take some just scrap pieces of paper to kind of do a mock-up of what it was going to look like on my card fronts, just so I could see how much room I needed between the spaces. And you basically need about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit less than 1/8 of an inch between the 2 spaces. And I'm going to cut one for you to show you that you need to leave an extra 1/8. I'll explain when I'm doing this. So let's get started. I'm going to keep this here. The fun foam. So I have my card base. It's an A2 card base, so it's 4 1/4 inches by 11, and then I scored it 5.5 to give me a typical A2 card base. I have here the image that I'm going to cut apart for my card front. Now, this is the fun foam, like a full sheet. So there's 2 ways I'm going to suggest doing this. If you can glue this. This is a little bit larger. This is 4.5 by 5.5 because I wanted just a little extra room in case there was a mess up or anything. I could glue this to the back and use my paper cutter to just cut the pieces as I want. I'm using a Fiskars paper cutter, so this doesn't cut through the fun foam as easily as I would like, but this is an option. If you have a guillotine cutter, you can just glue the fun foam to the back and cut your pieces apart, as I will explain. Or this is the same image, no fun foam, because I have already pre-cut my fun foam to fit behind each of the pieces that I'm going to adhere down to the card front, okay? The thicker fun foam does not work in a Fiskars cutter, so you have to use this with a guillotine or a ruler and a craft knife, okay? I love the thicker fun foam, it's more fun. So let me show you how I changed this up a little bit. So this is my image. I'm going to start with this. I'm going to focus on this being the main part of my card front, okay? So the first thing I want to do is, every piece here is 1 1/4 inches in width, okay? These 2 are 2 5/8 in length, and these 3 are 2.5 inches. So what I'm going to first do is I'm going to turn this way because I want to cut this part at 1 1/4. So laying this on the side, I'm going to cut this at 1 1/4 inches. I'm going to be very careful to put this piece back in the direction that it was printed in because, trust me, I've done this. I screwed this up a few times. So now I'm going to cut this top piece to 2 5/8, 2 5/8 across. Okay, this is going to go here. Now, for this piece here, if I were to just go and cut this at 1 1/4, when I put the piece here, this image is not going to align correctly. It's going to be a little bit off because 1/8 of this section on this side should not be here because it's going to be the black cardstock, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to cut it at 1 3/8 in the correct direction. This is now scrap, okay? I'm going to turn this around because I want to take 1/8 of an inch off on the side. So now I'm going to cut this at 1 1/4. I'm sure I am confusing everyone, and I apologize for that. Now, when I go to adhere this down, my image is going to flow better because it's going to feel like it really is one image, okay? I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. When I did this card, I didn't remove the 1/8 of an inch. And as you can see here, okay, this does not line up the way it's supposed to line up. Over here, this does not line up the way it's supposed to line up because the 1/8 of an inch is still part of this piece. If you look at this card, here, this lines up perfectly. This lines up perfectly over here, okay? This lines up perfectly because I'm allotting that 1/8 of an inch to not be part of the cardstock. I hope this all makes sense. So, continuing with our cutting, we have this here, and I'm going back to my sketch. Okay, I'm now going to cut this piece, which is 1 1/4 inches in width. So I'm going to come here, and I'm going to cut this at 1 1/4. Again, placing this in the correct direction up here. Now, over here, I need to remove 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so instead of this being 2 1/2, I'm going to cut this at 2 5/8 because I'm going to turn it around. I'm now going to turn this around and cut this now at the 2 1/2 inches it's supposed to be. And by taking off the 1/8 at the top, this will now flow correctly over here. So now for this piece here, I'm going to cut this piece at 1 3/8. And then I'm going to turn it and remove 1/8. I'm going to cut this again at 1 1/4 to remove the 1/8 of an inch here. Now, continuing on, I'm now going to cut this piece at 1 1/4. So I'm going to turn this. I'm going to cut this at 1 1/4. And since this needs to go here, I need to add 1/8 of an inch over here that I will remove. So I will cut this at 2 3/4 first. Then I will turn it around and cut it at 2 5/8 so that that will fit perfectly there. And my last two pieces here, okay, this is going to be, we're going to do this, cut two pieces. I'm going to cut one piece. Now I need to leave 1/8 here, so I'm going to cut this at 1 3/8. I'm going to turn it around, cut it at 1 1/4. And then I'm going to cut this at 2 1/2, but I'm going to add 1/8 at the top. So I'm going to cut this at 2 5/8. turn this around, and now I'm going to cut this at 2.5 so that the image flows perfectly. And the same thing with the last piece. I'm going to cut this at 1 3/8. Turn it around, and then I'm going to cut it again at 1 1/4. And then 2 5/8. Turn it around and cut it at 2.5. So now that will go right there. Okay, now we're just going to come back here, and whether you're using, if you're not using fun foam or you're not using foam tape or anything, you would just glue them down. Okay, you can, if you want to distress the edges with either a black ink or maybe a coffee color or something, that's fine. You would just glue them down, leaving about 1/8 of an inch, okay, to give that section there, like it's tile, okay? If you're using the fun foam, okay, I'm just going to take this, I'm grabbing some white glue, I'm just going to adhere the fun foam down. I cut them just shy because I don't want them hanging off the edges. And then I will just add some ink. And then I will add it to my card front, leaving about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, and then we're just going to go to the next piece. This is the, I meant to do all of this before so that I would not be doing this on camera. I hope my video makes some sense with the extra 1/8 of an inch and removing the 1/8 of an inch. You will have to let me know in the comments if I confused you more or if it makes sense. I do plan on doing this again with some other cards because using this this diagram here, okay, you can cut these in the same the same pieces. You could do a card horizontally, vertically. In this case, I used this Echo Park paper pad, okay, and instead of having this part here, I did 3 rows, 1 1/4 inch each one, okay. They just fit together like a puzzle. So I will be redoing this video again using other papers for some other ideas because I really do think this is an awesome idea for a card. I'm not going to keep gluing this all together because you don't need to watch that, but it will end up looking like this. And then I went and I did a happy birthday sentiment. This is a rubber stamp from my stash. You can do a sentiment on the computer, happy Father's Day, thinking of you, love you, Pop, whatever. This is also a great card, I think, for like a 50th or a 60th or more birthday for a guy because it's vintage-ish. And that's about it. Links for everything will be below. Again, KCS Designs by Kim on Etsy is having 50% off her whole Etsy store, and there's over, I think, 250 different digital files to look at. I will also leave a link below to my Pinterest board. I have a board on Pinterest with all of the products, all the projects that I have done using different digital files from Kim. I have Halloween there. I have Christmas, note cards, just to make note cards. That's going to be another video. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think of this. idea of this video, please like this video, share it with your friends on Facebook or on Instagram. It'd be great if you could subscribe to me. Links for everything is below, and I appreciate you stopping by my YouTube channel. And until the next video, which will be very soon, I'll see you soon. Thanks so much for stopping by, everyone.